I'm not seeing many practices improve.
The clinic had ran all their calls through a call center and they responded with the wrong clinic.
Yes, and it's happened multiple times.
Just really embarrassing how they handled the front desk.
It's astronomical, the financial change. Now the patient feels heard. They get something tailored to them. What's the likelihood they're a raving fan?
Hey everyone, Sam Patel. Welcome back to the channel. Super excited for today's topic. Sales, hospitality, how to sell, how to get people into the practice, how to get over that mindset of it's too expensive, I can't sell, or my patients are too cheap. We're going to talk about the hottest topics, including those. If you're new here, make sure you hit subscribe because I do not want you missing out, along with my friends and family here, of all the amazing topics that we talk about. Hit subscribe right now. Let's get right into it. I'm not even going to bother introducing these guys. They're regulars on the channel now, but
You know who we are.
Alicia, Mitch, you guys are, of course, part of my wonderful team. Super excited to have you guys again. This is a great topic. It's probably one of the most important business topics of this world of aesthetics, wellness, cash-based medicine. How do I sell? How do I ask patients to spend money with me? How do I even get them to book a consultation on the phone? It's common things. I mean, those of you that follow on the channel, if you haven't, once again, hit that damn subscribe. But for those of you that follow us, we do prank calls all the time, and it really starts there, doesn't it, Mitch? That first kind of impression of, hey, how can I help you? That whole concept of the phone. What are your thoughts, Alicia? Let's open up with you on the front desk. Is it getting better? Is it good? Does it suck? What are you seeing?
You know, I'm not seeing many practices improve with all the audit phone calls that we do or our early connections that we've made with accounts. I haven't seen any early improvements until we've gone through a boot camp of our
That was like her
sales
nice
and
way
hospitality.
Of saying that. That's like the nicest way that you can say that practices suck.
You're so PR trained.
That was the political answer. Let's hear the raw answer, Mitch. What is
Everyone's trainable. That's why everyone is trainable.
Yeah. The raw answer.
The raw answer. Give it to us straight.
You just, there's no process.
Yep.
At the end of the day, whether you're in fine dining or a big sales organization, you just have to have a process. And when it comes to the phone, like business owners, they're busy. And like you're a business owner, right? So it's like you're managing your team, you're hiring, you're letting people go, you're doing accounting, you're doing marketing, you're trying to grow your brand. Then they're like, oh, you have to do social media. And you're like, oh my gosh, like it's like an endless list of stuff. And we all talk on a phone every day. And a lot of times the phone, people cast aside and they're just like, yeah, just answer the phone. You know, just be friendly. Just answer the phone. It's not that hard. And it's like, no. It is, because there's not a process to it. So that's the first error. The second error outside of a process is they don't really have it set up the right way. Everyone tries to cheat it. Everyone tries to like make it easy. So they're like, okay, I'm going to hire someone in a different country to answer the phone for cheap, which I see. Or they'll have like, okay, press 1 for the front desk, press 2 to set up an appointment. And I'm like, I'm losing my mind.
Whatever happened to answering the phone call after the second ring?
And that actually brings up a really good point is when I worked at Rocket Mortgage, you know, Dan Gilbert, he's amazing, right? He owns Rocket Mortgage. And they said the way that they would become the best mortgage company in the world is by answering the phone, right? And they would joke, there's like the internal joke at that company where everyone hates another cable company because you can never get them on the phone. It's terrible, right? So that's usually the second issue I see. So first issue, no process. Second issue is you don't really have something set up the right way. Maybe no one's answering it or everyone's taking turns. You know, sometimes I'll see with smaller clinics where the business owner does, let's say the injectables or does the medical weight loss. They're kind of in the patient room and then they're not in the patient room. So a lot of calls get missed. Or their email, they'll have like info@medspa.com. Everyone has that email. So online submissions get missed. So that's the second issue. And then the third is, okay, now let's say I have a process and now we have that second part set up. The third is there's no training. And to get really good, you have to train, right? You have to practice.
Practice every day.
Yeah, it's like when you're on rotation,
Yep.
like you're learning and you're in the field.
You gotta
So,
practice.
and you say it all the time, best way to be a business owner is to be a business owner.
Yep.
The best way to get really good at the phone is to get on the phone.
Yep.
So,
Because each call is going to be different.
yeah.
And you can't train for that. You can train the foundation,
Mm-hmm.
but people are like, oh, I'll just figure it out. Well, yeah, you got to do that by doing repetition.
Yeah.
By the time you do hundreds and thousands of calls, you're going to be really good. But I think people are so robotic, and that's why people do call centers, because they think it should be robotic. Now, call centers, Alicia, what is your opinion on call centers? Because people are like, all right, that's fine. Sam, Mitch, Alicia, I hear you. It's hard to train the receptionist. That's fine. I'll just outsource it out. I'll outsource. There's so many people that are going into creating call centers for medical practice, dental practices, med spas. And although it's not, I'm not going to hate on them completely. There's always certain avenues in which maybe a call center seems like a reasonable option. But on the grand scheme of things, what is your opinion on it?
Well, I have not encountered a successful call center with any of the clinics that we've worked with. And I think a lot of the business owners are trying to offset the cost of actually hiring an employee. What would that employee actually cost to hire and have in your clinic? Is it that much more to have someone on site than it is for a call center that you're outsourcing?
Yeah, it's cheaper just to go to Singapore and have them do it, right?
Yes. Well,
have it outsourced.
Yeah. And some of my terrible experiences that I have had are answering the phone with the wrong practice name. They are working for so many different clinics. They don't know who they're answering the phone call for.
You called a clinic, and the clinic had ran all their calls through a call center.
Yes.
And they responded with the wrong clinic because the call center handles so many accounts.
Yes, and it's happened multiple times.
That's embarrassing.
Over the phone, as well as text message follow-ups. They're really good about following up, and they're great about answering the phone after you finally get through. I have called also privately. Those phone calls do not go through the call center. They're automatically denied because they can't monitor those calls when they are coming through private. So if someone does have a private cell phone number that they use, they're never able to get through that clinic because they're not able to get through that call through center.
This is giving me anxiety just hearing this. All this missed call, didn't pick up the call. And all I'm hearing, really all my mind is saying to myself is that's so much money lost. That's revenue. That's option. That's potential.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so much, hundreds of thousands. Mitch, help us make sense of this. If someone's converting out of 10 calls, 3 of them, if they pick up the phone, and they're making X amount, I mean, what is the impact that just perfecting this one piece does for the revenue?
Yeah. I mean, all right, obviously batting 1,000 is unlikely, right?
Sure.
So the odds of you getting 100% of your phone calls is, that's out of the question.
Sure. Yeah.
I would argue you can get to 90. I think any clinic could reasonably get to 90% conversion. And so if you're at like 3 out of 10, that's what, I don't know, let's just say 20,000 a month. And now you're at 9 out of 10, that's 60,000.
Yep.
So I mean, I talk to these like owners and everyone's trying to find like a secret. They're like, what am I supposed to market? What am I supposed to do here? All right, if I buy this device, is this going to be the thing? Or they're always trying to find like a loophole. And it's no, like just get good at the phone. And really getting good at the phone is like understanding your patient needs. Like you should not be diagnosing over the phone. You should not be giving pricing over the phone. You should be welcoming and receptive. And you have a process that you say every single time. And it's important because consistency builds trust. And if I don't trust you, I don't want to buy from you. Like I have to trust you. You just have to get good at it. I mean, the best example I can think of process-wise was when I worked in restaurants. So I worked in fine dining, had a great career doing that. And I was in Prime and Proper, Detroit Restaurant of the Year, right? Steakhouse. And I remember I was not good. Yeah, I was not good. So they hired me and they just opened up and I went through their training and it was intense. Like verbiage. Do you say the same thing every single time? So they don't say allergy, they say dietary accommodation. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I thought I love
that.
It's beautiful.
I hate when people come and do you have an allergy? I'm like, that just sounds so negative. It's a great question.
Yeah.
But I like, do you have a dietary
Accommodation. Yeah, I learned that from them.
More appropriate.
That sounds great.
Well, you don't have to remind someone that, like, they're gluten free, and then they're like, sorry, I have to have burger, no bun. And, it's a little embarrassing. Yeah. So I learned that. And I remember I went through their 2 weeks of training. And then I had to do like the formal menu presentation. And you say the same thing every time. And then you have to go with French service and how you sit. And I didn't really take it seriously. And then, their trainer for all their locations, Jessica, who's now a good friend of mine, she was like, yeah, I don't think you're prime and proper material. And I was like, oh my God. And, but that was their standard, right? So what is the standard for your phone? Like, what is that standard? And what is the same thing we do every single time? Because now if that's a process and it's consistent, and those little details really do matter, and you only get good at practicing it.
I feel like practices don't even have a standard. Like, they don't even have any sort of focus on it.
No.
So without them even having,
they're shooting from the hip.
Yeah, they're just like, oh yeah, we'll hire someone for $15 an hour. That's a high schooler during the summer. They can answer the phones. And
yeah, it's almost like the being good at the reception is almost that you could argue that if you can't do that right, you probably are missing everything else in the business too. Usually that's a good side effect. If you talk to a clinic that's really good at the reception, they're really good at their consultation. Yep. They're really good at their referral business. They're really good at marketing, and they built it into a system. You can almost tell right away.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. It has to be a process, and that's just the start of it.
Yeah.
The start of the process starts at that first phone call, right? I mean, if we look at kind of a customer life cycle, they find you online, so you have to have a good digital presence, good social media, good referrals, word of mouth in the community, and then they go ahead and take that next step of calling. Now, if they have an obstacle that you place in front of them at that important step, they're not getting to do a consultation or a treatment or spend money with you. They're not even coming in. I mean, we prank call all these people all the time, and they're just so bad. And it's, I would probably single-handedly say, because we've worked with thousands of practices across the globe now, and every single time that we get on stages across this world, people always ask, Sam, what's the number one thing that you would focus on as a business owner? And that answer evolves. And I would say probably more recently, my answer has been pretty consistent, and that's been the sales, hospitality, the receptionist role. That is the most important thing. They're like, oh, not doing treatments? I'm like, if you still need training on how to do treatments, you shouldn't even be open. Like, you should know how to do treatments very efficacious.
First impression is key, and it doesn't, you could have the best providers, world-renowned providers, providing the treatments, but if your patients don't come in because that first desk impression, they don't get to come meet that awesome
that
provider.
Whole traditional saying of don't judge a book by its cover, that doesn't apply to this world. They 100% judge a book by the cover.
Very judgy.
As they should be. They're going to judge you based off that first call. So if that call is being outsourced to Taiwan, is that what your first impression is? I mean,
think about your business. Great. Like, okay, why are we harping on this? Think about your business actually. You're not selling, you're selling an experience. So for example, like if I need gas, I just have to get gas. Like it's not really.
There's no experience.
Hey, I need gas. I need electric for my house, right? That's different. You're in the experience business, which is the hospitality business.
Yes.
You are in the hospitality business, and no one makes that a process at all. And so they want to try, and they're like, oh, well, I worked in the hospital used call center. Well, hospital's not the experience-based business. No, hospital's like, you got a broken leg. Sorry. We got to take care of you.
Treat it.
It's a different, I think sometimes in healthcare, people forget to think about that and then make that an effort because they're not conditioned that way. And then the other thing is, I see this all the time. Everyone I talk to says they're really good at it. And they're
perfectionists. I mean, I would say
everyone
over the last couple weeks,
I'm great at the phone.
Everyone's like, I've already do everything. Right. I'm already great at this.
And then when you audit them and prank call them, it all falls apart. Right.
Like, be honest with yourself.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of the harder parts of what we do is we have to kind of be transparently honest and say, hey, actually, this is not good. And
we audited before we started this process with you, and here were our findings. If you're not true to yourself, there's no improvements.
I love auditing practices with that first step,
Well, and sometimes you find things they are good at, and then you're kind of like, hey, you're really good at this part. Why do you do that so well? And then you kind of unravel a little bit, and then you go, okay, well, why didn't we apply that to the phone?
Right.
And they go, and that's kind of the nice thing about what we do is we're like a fresh set of eyes. Sometimes like you're too close to the business. You forget. You're not there.
Makes sense.
And I love the boutique concept that we have. So when we are auditing something that they're great at, we make a big shift in their program and offer them and dive in deeper to where they are lacking with that support inside their clinic.
In today's world, people aren't buying services. They're buying the experience they have with you. It's very simple. I mean, go to a restaurant, the food obviously has to be phenomenal, but it's the experience and the hospitality that you had there. When you go to a hotel, it's not the bed that they always remember. It's the service they got from when you went in, to the customer service, to the moment you leave and they take the bags into your car and close the door. When you go to anything, a spa, and you have a retreat and you just want to have it's not the hot tub they had. Everyone's got a hot tub, but it's, hey, the robe that they came with it, the juice that they gave you afterwards, the care, attention to detail of what that person liked. It's the fine details. And this is a healthcare customer service based industry, as you mentioned. And I think people absolutely neglect that. Now, Mitch, when you joined our team, one of the most exciting things that really came to me was, of course, your experience with hospitality and sales. And, I gave you a very daunting task, right? The first week, I was like, Mitch, I'm going to just throw you into the fire here. And I want you to build us a hospitality and sales training program, because after training nearly over 1,000 practices across the world, it's the one thing that I would say 99%, and yes, 99%. There's only 1%.
Yeah.
Would you agree, Alicia, that maybe we're good at this? 99% of them were terrible, god awful, just really embarrassing of how they handle the front desk, how they handle the receptionist, client concierge, customer service point. And you were tasked with building this program. Now, I know how you've built this program. It's beautiful. It's 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Options. You even fly sometimes to the clinic and actually train them on site. When I tasked you with designing this program, I'm sure that was a lot, and you took it on like a champ, and you built one of the best programs, if not the best program that I think any consulting firm has in this entire world. How did you go about figuring out what's important? I guess you asked me, Sam, how long do you want this program to be? I said 4 and 6 weeks. I want to have 2 options. How did you even conceptualize, all right, what are we going to do in this boot camp, this university, this scholar program, the PhD, master's program of sales and hospitality, the program that we have now? How did you even go about designing that?
Yeah, it was tough.
I know.
I think it's tough because, my first restaurant job was a pizza shop with my stepbrother. So that was my first. And then I gradually worked up, and then I went to kind of like more of like a classic American fare chain, which is great. They had like 30 locations and really good at systems. Then I went to fine dining, and honestly, I think where I learned the most was Prime and Proper, like downtown Detroit. I think, learning from them, the owner, Jeremy, like he's a phenomenal entrepreneur. He was a really good mentor to me. He's really good at knowing each one of his business's brands. So he has, I want to say like 4 restaurants now, and they're all different. They all have an identity. They have a different atmosphere. And it's important to note that the way you do service at like a fine dining steakhouse is not going to be the same as something more fast casual. So it's kind of like Marriott and then Ritz-Carlton. Both amazing, right? But they're both consistently great at what they do. Marriott's not trying to be Ritz-Carlton. Ritz-Carlton doesn't want to be Marriott. They're different. They appeal to a different customer. So the hard part with building out a program like this is you have to really work with your client and go, okay, what is your identity? Let's start there. Who are you as a medical aesthetic clinic? Or maybe you're a family medicine doing some cash pay, or maybe you're anti-aging regenerative medicine. Those are 3 very different identities. And the way you're going to approach delivering hospitality in each one of those environments is so different. So that's kind of the first part. It's kind of understanding you. The second part was really going into why people buy and breaking down what value is and then breaking down what selling is. A lot of people have a very bad definition of sales. I did. When I first got in sales, I thought selling was money hungry, slimy people, right? And there's some truth to that in some areas, but really good selling is making friends and solving problems. And the best sales reps have the communication skills to effectively have their prospect or client understand that. And so there's thirdly, I guess, providers think they have to kind of act differently because they're asking for cash, and you don't, right? And so we have to kind of break up your limiting beliefs. So sometimes I'm actually like diagnosing the practice owner. I'm like, well, what are your thoughts on selling? So now we've reset everything. Like you have a fresh perspective. We have deleted your old brain because that's not working. We have to recreate a new identity, recreate a new thing. Then we'll go into the skill set of hospitality selling and then building out your system. And from there, then we can kind of make it unique to you. Now, the part of like the 4-6 week thing is some people want that, like fly out, meet in person, do that. I really don't like doing that at the beginning at all because you're just going to forget it. You know, like it took me, 15 years of working since I was 15 to learn all this stuff. So you being like, oh, can you hang out with me for a day or two and learn all of that? No,
one day.
It's not going to work. And then also the way your business is going to be unique. So that's kind of how I had to look at it. I had to take a step back and go, how did I learn about this? Great. How do people learn in general? So understand, okay, if I'm going to explain this, how can they digest it? Because it's not fair. Like if you paid for a program for sales and hospitality and you can't remember it, like that's money wasted. So I want to make sure your ROI is really fast on that. And then the nice part with our industry is these treatment programs can be, a good chunk of change. And so we have, clients making their return on investment in days to weeks.
I was gonna say the cost of this program is definitely recouped within a few days.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
by increasing, your clientele conversion over the phone by the systems and processes that you teach and implement. I mean, the cost of the program is negligible.
Oh,
and it's investing in the team and allowing them to do a better job of converting. This is straight up increasing your ROI. This is increasing your profitability. It's increasing your exposure and clientele conversion overnight, instantly. That's what I love. That's why it's one of our favorite programs. I mean, Alicia, when we were designing all our programs, and we have amazing programs, device integration programs, wellness programs, and event programs, a lot of great things that we've done for our clients. But this is one of the programs that I've probably been most excited about recently. And, you've heard it, you've seen it. We've ran clinics together. You remember how much intensely we trained on the front desk phone call. What excites you about this new program that we've launched with Mitch?
Well, it's been bringing back a lot of my initial stages when we did work together, when we first started working together, and all the mock consultations that we had to do, all the mock trials from a patient coming in the door. I mean, it was an intense 1 month at least of just training and perfecting our methods before we actually put our hands on clients or had them walk in the door. I think that this training program that we offer is a huge asset to the clients that we work with. From the 4-week program, 6-week program, or on-site. But as Mitch mentioned, you have to have the foundations that you have to perfect all these methods if you do want us to come on-site. Because then we can critique and make those proper implementations.
It has to be customized because a dental practice, chiropractic practice, surgical practice, all of our clients, they all have unique brands, unique identities. And so it can't be cookie cutter.
No.
So I think this program being as customized as you've made it, which is let's just start with learning who you are. What identity do you have? What type of patients do you see? Let's start there, and then let's then start training. Otherwise, going through like a generic cookie cutter boot camp, a 1 day on going to someone else's clinic, that makes no sense. Let me go train based off of how you run your clinic. Like that, does that make sense? Like
no, I mean it's like okay, let's say you're in the hotel business and you go to Ritz-Carlton. I mean, how the Ritz-Carlton does stuff might not be how your clientele is
compare it.
going to come
Correct.
to you.
That's why I love the fact that that we have an option for you to go on.
Let me go into your environment.
And
Absolutely.
it's like the only ask I tell clients is I go, hey, I don't like turn the lights on in your business. Like help me help you, because I am not coming in this judgmental at all. I'm coming in this with curiosity, and you'll find the things like some of these providers I work, they're doing great stuff and they're like 60, 70% there. And being able to go, hey, let's just like turn that little, and that 20% or 5%, it's astronomical, the financial change, because you'll have like these little governors that are just limiting, they're terrible, they're limiting your profit. And like kind of the phone example, right? If you can go from 3 out of 10 to 9 out of 10, and let's say that produces 40,000 in a month, that's 480 grand a year.
That's insane.
So if I give you a phone script, how much are you going to pay me for that? I'm just, my point is like, how much value is that? And that's just one thing. What about referral business, right? Like I see clinics, they spend all this money on marketing, and then they finally get them in the door. They recommend the wrong program, right? So they close them on the wrong program. Patient's not happy. Are they coming back again?
No. Right.
Nope.
So that
And oftentimes it's because they don't have all the solutions for that patient.
So now
they're
you
trying to
don't
work with what they have in their clinic.
Yeah. And now you don't have a business that's going to grow with or without you. And then like in the hospitality business, let's say fine dining steakhouse, right? If you came into the restaurant and you're like, Mitch, what's the best thing here? And I'm like, the tomahawk ribeye. You're gonna be like, dude, what? Like, no, it's not. I'm like, yeah, 2 pounds of American freedom. That steak is incredible. You're gonna go, okay, this is what he tells everyone. He just wants to sell the most expensive thing on the menu. And that's what most of these people are doing, right? I go, that is not hospitality. Hospitality is like, well, welcome. Like, what brought you in tonight?
It's listening.
What brought you in tonight? Oh, okay. Do you have an event this evening? Oh, you have a concert you're going to? Oh, okay. What time's that? Maybe I can have the valet ready for you so that we can get there on time. Okay, have you been here before? What'd you have last time? Do you have any dietary accommodations? And as I really understand my guest sitting down, I'd make a recommendation, say, you know what? I don't really think the tomahawk ribeye is what you would want at all. We have this wonderful American Wagyu filet. Now, you can get a filet anywhere, but at Prime and Proper, this is what I would say, right? At Prime and Proper, the American Wagyu filet, you can't get anywhere. And that's what makes this place unique, right? And then they're like, I like that guy. I trust that guy. And you do those little things. Guess who's coming back? They are. Guess who's asking for me? Guess who's actually
going to try the new thing on the menu that you recommended last time?
Oh my gosh. Or like, hey, chocolate cake with, a sherry wine. Wow. That's incredible. You should try that. And that's a good recommendation. But if you sit down and you're like, well, I don't like chocolate cake. It's like, what the hell am I talking about?
Right.
Because you did not get to know your customer.
Exactly. And that happens all the time. I mean, you'll sit down in hospitality and business of any kind, whether it's a hotel or restaurant, and you got this person, it's like, blah, 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 trying to sell you something. Like, like my wife doesn't eat pork, right? And if a server doesn't ask, and then they're like, oh, what's good to eat here? Oh man, we have this grilled bacon we serve on the side, and the chopped salad and the pork chop. And my wife's like, wasted conversation. This server went on tangent for 5 minutes and didn't even know she doesn't eat pork. And so now as my wife's kind of sitting there, what's her emotional experience? She's annoyed.
She's detached.
Yep.
Now.
She's detached,
Well, no
right?
rapport was built at the beginning, and especially when you have dietary restrictions, or do you have any allergies?
Yeah.
She has no allergy to pork, but it's accommodation. She doesn't want to eat it.
And before you start, like, for you guys listening, we're not in the restaurant business here. This is an analogy. We're in healthcare. We're in medical aesthetics. We're in regenerative medicine. What does that look like in that scenario? It's like, well, how long has this been a concern of yours? Have you done this before? Have you tried anything at home? Right? Have you been to a place? Oh, it's your first time here? What brought you in? Oh, Sally recommended you? Sally's great. We love Sally. Okay, and what were you hoping to get from doing this, treatment? Okay, how long has that been an issue for you? 8 years? You've struggled with weight? Oh man, it sounds like it's been very frustrating for you. That person, that guest, that patient, they feel heard. They feel appreciated. And you go, you know what? I don't really think you need to do this whole thing. This big program's really, I think for you, I don't think your weight concern is as large as you think it is. And I actually don't think you're a candidate for medical weight loss. I really think we could probably just go ahead and maybe just do something subtle or simple, right? Or maybe we just do a little bit of body contouring in, a targeted area, because it sounds like that's your issue. Now the patient feels heard. They get something tailored to them. What's the likelihood they're a raving fan? Because raving, yeah. And that's where it translates. And that's really the big opportunity. And then you go, Mitch, that's a lot to remember. Not when it's a system. Not when it's a process.
And definitely not when it's built out over a comprehensive program over a few weeks, which is why it can't be a day course.
No, it can't.
It can't be a one-day thing.
That would just be a money grab. You wouldn't really be helping any of these people. You wouldn't see, that would actually be bad for our business, to be honest with you, because then people go, yeah, it was really cool. They came out for a day. But honestly, I
don't know what to do now. How do I implement it?
Yeah, that's exactly what would happen.
My journeys are not changing. My processes are not changing.
So then how would we...
Here's an example, but then it's not how... Well, what do you do with that example?
It's like going to a conference where you learn a whole bunch of your notebooks full, and you're like, I got all this wonderful information. You go back and you're like, how do I implement this in my clinic now? What do I do now?
Because then if we help providers and then they can build a sales hospitality process for their business, and then they start making great money really quickly, because in this industry, you can make great money extremely quickly. You're going to be like, wow, those guys are cool. And then you're going to tell your doctor's friend, hey, you should call them. That's how I'm building raving fans. That's why it was you were like, hey, how did you come up with this 4 to 6 week program? I had to think, okay, how am I going to get referral business over the next 6 months to a year? And that's going to come from breaking it down, diagnosing the right way, understanding the clientele, understanding where are you good at, where are you not. I did a call the other day, really great people I talked to, but I heard the girl say, and I think she meant it with the best intention, but she's like, I'm really good at selling. I'm the best salesperson. I can sell ice to an Eskimo. And I'm like, you know what? That's a red flag, because that's not true. And anyone who's a sales professional knows that you are always learning. I'm always learning. And am I the best sales rep ever? No. I've worked with people that are incredible at selling. But if you already think oh, I'm really good at selling, oh, you're not teachable. I need to and then honestly in the first meeting, I kind of have to humble you. I really do, because I need to break that in your mind. Then that's, because when I hear that, I'm like, that's a red flag. That person's actually probably part of your problem, because they think they know everything. That's actually probably your limiting factor in your business. And you're like, oh no, Terry's great. Terry's really good at selling. She says she's great at selling. And no, she's actually probably not. And that's what we got to figure out. Because let's say she is great at selling. She's gone. Where's your business? Oh, you don't have a system.
There's no system or process.
Yeah. It's people come and go. I mean, at the end of the day, it's I loved when I worked in fine dining, Prime and Proper. That was an amazing process. And, Jessica put it together there. Jeremy obviously runs restaurants. They really put together a top tier process. And I learned a lot, but I don't work there anymore.
Oh.
And guess what's still a great restaurant? Prime and Proper. I was not the reason Prime and Proper is great.
Right.
Their process and how they built it is why they're arguably probably the best restaurant.
That's why
for
I think
that.
Business owners are so focused on finding the best person.
Yeah.
And although there's, of course, truth to that, you have to figure out how to form the best process, and you can plug in your person or persons, right?
Yeah.
Which brings us back to our very initial word that we used in this conversation was consistency.
Yep. Well, this whole program has been built for consistency. I mean, hey guys, I love this conversation. I'm super excited to be launching this program with you, Mitch, Alicia.
Me too.
I think we've done a really good job. You've done a great job of designing this. We've already gotten amazing feedback. I mean, clinics are already bringing in a lot more revenue just with the fundamentals of what our program with you is teaching them. So very excited to launch this.
Me too.
For everyone out there, thank you for joining us. This is such an important conversation to be had, and we want you to be a part of it. So definitely contribute to the conversation. Be a part of the conversation by commenting below. Ask questions. Give your opinion. What's worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? Please, I encourage you to have a productive and positive conversation with us going forward. And of course, if your clinic needs help, let us know. We're here for you. You do not have to suffer from this. Mitch
Yeah.
is probably, if not, is the best when it comes to this around the world, which is why he's sitting on this couch with
right.
all of us.
Appreciate
Our
it.
team.
The part of the elite team grows, and we're very excited. But be a part of our team by contributing to our network with your knowledge. We'd love to learn from you as well. Subscribe if you haven't. Cannot wait for our next topic. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
for
no,
being a
thank
part
you
of
guys.
this. We're looking
Yep.
forward to continuing this journey. And hey, we got to make some prank phone calls now. So let's get to that. I'll talk to you guys later. See you soon.